Greetings, everyone. Welcome back once again to the Edge podcast, the On the Edge podcasts. As you know, every 2 weeks we get together and we chat through what's happening in the Edge, what's happening in and around our town, and in our time, I suppose.
Yep.
I'm Chris, and I'm here, of course, with Bomber. Bomber, how you feeling?
Good, thanks. Very, very good. And yourself?
Yeah, no, all right, eh? How's stuff around town going?
Stuff around town is fine. We seem to be... The municipality seems to be behaving. There's less chaos than there was, and I think there seems to be a general, what we spoke about last time, a general groundswell to get things working again.
And a bit more optimism, a bit more. Hey, okay, there have been a lot of alarm bells kind of sounded, and people are actually doing stuff.
Absolutely.
And that's really, really cool. And one of our major things that we spoke about with that was, with that groundswell is that while the municipality is great, when it does its job and just as an institution.
I haven't heard them called that for a long time, but well done.
Thanks.
You're the first this year.
That's how you know the groundswell is coming. We're starting to attach these kind of words on the municipality.
Excellent.
Let me append it with a great institution there to help.
Yes.
And I suppose we are starting to see that more and more. But more of what we're seeing is stuff coming from the ground up, from the community, from individuals and companies and things like Revive Sagefield and, always our NSRI. These volunteer-based things are just really, really great, and they just serve the community so well.
Absolutely.
So I thought we could actually take a little bit of a moment now to talk about the institution of the Edge newspaper. I know, and ever since I've been living here, or just even around the garden route, and specifically around Wilderness and George and Neisner and Sage and all of that, the Edge has just always been around and been running for ages and has just done so much good for our community. So thank you for that. Genuinely,
thank you,
man. It's
thank you
it's
very
just
much.
It's such a blessing. It's such a joy for someone like me who doesn't always get conversation right. I love being able to sit down with others who are either reading it or I've read it, and we've got these really cool things to talk about. So, Bomber, how did it start, and why did it start? And when, I suppose.
Okay. Thank you very much for those kind words. We've been running the newspaper for it'll be 26 years this year.
Whoa.
My wife and I and our two tiny children, they were tiny then, they're not so tiny now. We moved down from Zimbabwe. We bought it as a newspaper. Well, it was really a sort of an ad rag. It was a much smaller paper. It didn't have any news in it. It was just advertising.
Oh, okay.
So it was called the Sedgefield Advertiser and Wilderness Ways. So we bought that.
SAW.
Yes.
I was trying to figure out if there was an acronym there. I don't think so. SAW.
So we bought it, and as with many businesses taken over by people from out of town, we quickly realized that it wasn't making anywhere near as much money as we had been led to believe. And so we had to change the recipe very quickly to try and make it something more sustainable. So we changed the name to The Edge, and we decided that it's going to be a community newspaper.
How did you get the name The Edge?
Interesting thing. We actually ran a competition.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
And a lady from Plet actually emailed us.
Yeah.
No, in fact, she wrote to us. That's right, because not
those
many
days.
people had email.
I was about to say, wow.
So she wrote to us, and she said she was a school teacher, a retired school teacher, and she said out of habit she reads all the newspapers with a red pen.
Oh, yeah.
And she said ours was the one with the least red pen marks, that is correcting the spelling, the least grammatical errors, and she said we had the edge on all the other newspapers, and we just loved.
Oh, that's great.
It was very funky.
Yeah.
Because
Sage Edge. It works.
It could have been the Tribune or the Chronicle or something like that. The Edge just was great.
Yeah.
So that's where we got that from, and we started making a point of putting news in there, because in my mind, much as we'd like to say to advertisers that people pick up a newspaper just to look at the adverts, they don't.
no one
They
does.
look at it for their content, for the content of the newspaper.
Yeah.
And then when they see the ads, they're reminded, oh, I need to buy a carpet, and there's a carpet ad.
There you go, yeah.
There we go. So, yeah, that's what we did. And it's just been a wonderful time over the last 25 years, very involved in the community, because we're always looking for news.
Yeah.
And news comes from the community. News comes from a lot of the charities that we deal with. It's our job to help promote them so that they can run more efficiently, and that people are aware of what they do, and then so more likely to send funding or other goods their way. So we've had great fun.
Oh yeah, and there's something so special about seeing your friends and seeing your neighbors and seeing all the kids. I mean, the surfers and the scouts and whoever it was catching fish. And
yes, that's it.
It's just very joyful. It's a good feeling, and
that's it. And there is a lot of negative news out there in the bigger scheme of things.
Yeah,
the national, international papers, the national, international news. News, radio news, and all that sort of thing. So it is. It sounds very small townish, but it is very small townish.
Yeah, no,
to
and
know
it
that
should be.
Great Aunt Ethel, has turned 105, and her family
She's done it.
have come to see her.
Yeah.
It's wonderful. Yeah.
Oh no, fantastic!
We
Absolutely love that. Yeah, and we want those small town vibes. We want that, and I mean, especially over the past few years with COVID, with everything like that, we just see how much we really, really need each other. And how much we need these interactions, and how much we need to be there for each other in such a big way.
Absolutely.
So again, thank you for that, and love that, and love hearing more and more about the history. I think it would be amazing to track down that teacher if she's still about.
Yeah, I doubt she is, but we can try.
Yeah, that would be very, very cool with her red.
I'll find out. Yes,
and let's see if she's still circling. I won't say that I found one or two along the way. I'm also a teacher, so it isn't with a red pen, because by my time we were discouraged from using red pens because anyway,
there was a negative thing
exactly, and we don't want negative things for kids.
So don't focus on the one word that's spelt wrong. Focus
there was only one.
27,000 words that were spelt right.
It's the one word that matters.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome, Bomber. And so there was a community services meeting yesterday. The committee meeting was the community services meeting, one of those long titles.
Yeah, a meeting for the mayoral committee, I suppose, for corporate services.
Yeah, so that
community services.
Thank you. Yeah, sorry, I keep getting tongue-tied on that. It's one of the long titles. Yeah. So that happened this week, and that's one of the things that very much pertains to us, and it influences us, and it's part of our world and kind of the broader world. And it was very interesting to hear in that how much they're still referencing carte blanche and wanting reports, and what were your kind of general feels from that?
Well, yeah, it was quite refreshing to hear how frustrated the councillors were getting. So they were asking for the report back. So the directors of the municipality, so they're the heads of each department. Yeah. The director, so the director of community services was there, and he had promised along the way, for previous meetings, to have feedback reports. So what happens is the councillors who are on those committees will then read through the feedback reports and say, okay, this is the decision that we have to make. One of the big ones they were talking about at yesterday's meeting that you're listening to was whether or not we, Neisner and Sedgefield, should take part in the Garden Route District Municipality new refuse dump. Refuse has been a very big topic in Neisner.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Because it was piling up at the station, at the waste station, transfer station.
Yes.
And so over the last year or so, the Garden Route District Municipality have been trying to set up a dump where all the towns in the Garden Route, well, a few of them at least, could drop off their waste, because up until now it's been at the one in Mossel Bay.
Yes,
the Musgas one. Is it still called Musgas?
I have no idea.
Anyway,
I can't remember the last time I drove.
but that's closing. And
Oh, whoa.
in the meeting, they said we have until, I think, the end of April.
Oh.
And then we have to find an alternative.
It's pretty soon, guys.
It is very soon.
And
that was
Otuan
their
turned us
frustration.
down, right? Well, Otuan turned them.
I think Otuan said, well, yeah,
we got enough
we've
rubbish
already
tanks.
got our own rubbish. Yeah. So that was the councillors' frustration. And my goodness, they almost all agreed with each other.
Amazing.
They were so frustrated.
Things are changing.
So
That's great.
They were supposed to get in the previous meeting, and maybe even the one before that a breakdown of the pros and cons of this garden route waste plan, and whether or not they should sign up for it. And the reports just weren't there.
Oh, that's frustrating. Yeah,
they were saying, and I tend to agree with them, that the director hadn't been doing his job well enough.
Yeah.
And some of them really did throw their toys out.
Yeah, leaned very, very hard on them.
Yeah,
on a few people. And even just kind of the nature of the meetings and when they were getting called and just messed around and, incomplete reports and saying, can we have this report on Monday? And them saying, no, it takes a lot of time.
Yeah.
We got to have.
It was the same for they were talking about the security.
Yes, yeah.
For the sewerage and the water, which is also part of community services.
Yeah.
And, there's a security companies charging good money for that contract.
Yes.
And yet they say, well, we don't even know. They say that there's 100 guards.
Yeah, I couldn't
or
believe
50
it.
guards or 20 guards.
Yeah.
But nobody checks.
Yeah. And how are we going to know if that's happening?
Has there been a check? And they were asking for the feasibility studies and that sort of thing for the security for the municipal.
And things that do impact us, because some of those contracts were also here for Sagefield, and I think they get contract for kind of broader places, which is all very interesting. But what I always like, because there are parts that I do like of those meetings, there are some people who are just hilarious, and maybe it's not right that it is as entertaining as it is.
Yes, absolutely.
But it is.
But it is. It is definitely. Yeah.
But I always love hearing Cleone's voice. Our very own ward councillor here in Ward 2, and she recently had the Ward 2 kind of feedback, which was it this week? It
was last week Thursday, actually. Last week Thursday. Once, I think they do it once a quarter, if I remember correctly. I stand to be corrected. They have a feedback meeting. She has to basically chair it. They sort of ask they give a report back on what's been happening in her ward, where money is being spent, where it's planned to be spent,
potholes,
what's gone wrong, what's gone right. So she chairs the meeting, and it's very frustrating. The municipal manager wasn't there. He sent his apologies, which is very frustrating because a lot of the questions needed his response. He is the boss.
Exactly, yeah.
He's not the boss of the councillors. He's a boss of the municipality. So he should have the answers. And so, it does. Sedgefield's always had this thing where we feel a little bit like the poor cousin of Neisner.
Yeah, because we used to be our own municipality.
We did indeed, yeah.
And then we got kind of absorbed.
Then they politicised, the national government said, no, we've got too many small municipalities. We must make fewer municipalities, but make them bigger.
Yes,
so we
better.
Tried to join with Wilderness to be one municipality, and that failed. Then we said, please join us to George, and they didn't. They joined us to Neisner.
Yeah.
And well, for one way or the other, that's
it is what it is. Yeah. So any major sort of positive things that you would say that came out of this meeting?
Yeah, it looks like they are attending to some stuff. It was a good meeting. There wasn't a lot of angry people, which is always a good sign of a
There's a lot of positive stuff.
Yeah.
Not having a room full of angry people.
Some money being spent in the right places, some promises of money that will be spent in the right places.
Okay.
Things that are budgeted for us. We have had that. I'm a bit cynical. We have had that in the past, and then the money hasn't been there. But hopefully with our councillor Cleone keeping an eye on it. We've also got to remember that she's a DA councillor, and at the moment it's an ANC coalition municipality. So
So a lot of politics kind of being dragged in.
Yeah.
Well, what I really like to see from that article, and it was around, I mean, I'm in Groenvallei, so, it's very relevant for me hearing the noise and stuff like that from taverns, and just a bit of the feedback of how there are fines and arrests and whatever, not that part, but just that she was encouraging, saying, hey, thank you to everyone for actually complaining to me. And I loved that little bit. I think she has done quite well.
That's we are told not to complain by people, and I agree with that sentiment. You mustn't complain unless you're complaining to the right people.
The right avenues. Cool.
That your complaint is useful. So every time you send a complaint to the municipality and you CC in Cleone,
okay.
What happens is it gets what they call a collab number.
Oh yeah.
So what the councillor can do then is go to the municipality at a council meeting, or go to the municipal manager and say, we have had 75 complaints in the last week about noise from the taverns that are illegal.
Yes.
So then there's weight. It's not just one person that's complaining.
That's right,
it's not just a couple. It's a lot of people.
Okay.
And so that gives weight to her asking for action to be taken.
That's actually super helpful then, to know that we can email CC her in, not just the WhatsApp, because that feels like it can disappear a little bit into ether a little bit too.
It's best to email the. I think there are other things on the Facebook page for the Neighbours municipality, but it really is best to email them. And you get a response. A code that should happen on the turn. They send you a collab number to say, we've received your thing, your complaint. This is the number, the reference number, which you would then use. And I suppose you would send that off to Cleone as well. So then it can be used. So it's a force to be reckoned with, rather than one or two people complaining.
That's right, because you call the police about noise or about some other issue, rubbish or whatever, and they say, well, no, that's a municipal thing. Just speak to them about it. And you're like, who, how? I love that. That's tangible. That's something really that we can do. And I think that exact sentiment kind of carries over into our next kind of piece on our Neisner elephants. It felt like there always just was this general. we got frogs here in the studio.
Sorry, got a frog in my throat.
They heard us speaking about animals. They're like, what elephant? So the natural enemies of the Neisner elephant is a frog, scientifically speaking. So is this idea with the Neisner elephants of they were always just there, and the myth, and I love that story that you told of the one marathon of guys throwing out elephant dung and then being like, hey, that's where they are. But that there are these really interesting steps being taken by Ryan Davey. Is it? I mean, he's just been working around and doing so much, and the film and just going off into it to find them. Now we know there is this one there, which had a beautiful name. What was it? Fila?
Oh, Fila, yes. They've given her a name of Fila. They've rechristened the Neisner elephant as Fila.
Christened. So, did they chuck some water?
I don't know. I don't know if they could get close enough.
We live in an interesting town. There's stuff like this that happens, right? So there are some really interesting developments there, and there was a great big meeting as well.
On the same night as the feedback, the other feedback meeting,
really?
The one we've just spoken about. So I couldn't attend the elephant meeting, but I did. I made sure I contacted them afterwards and found out. So I think the group's called Herd Instinct, if I remember correctly. I must check that. Basically, they headed up by Ryan Davey, and there's a group of them, and it is growing. They had a whole lot of people at the meeting.
It was like 200 or something, wasn't it?
Yes, they had 200 people at the meeting, and he said the membership of the group doubled overnight after the meeting.
Oh, wow.
So, they basically are saying that the lone Neisner elephant, she should be part of a social structure. They are herd animals, and she should have company there. And they are very, very keen on introducing elephants into the Neisner forest. But the important thing to know, this has been done before, and in 1994.
Yes, I saw that.
They had tried it before. And it failed dismally. They introduced 3 elephants
from the Kruger Park, was
Kruger.
it?
Yeah, that's right. One of them died after 2 months, and then the other two were eventually relocated relocated to Shamwari Game Reserve.
Wow.
And they didn't actually become one with the Neisner.
Yeah, Neisner elephants.
But Ryan and his group actually explained that.
Yeah.
What they said was the elephants, and I do remember seeing the footage all those years ago, the elephants were survivors of a culling. Now, an elephant culling is a terrible
ugly
thing.
Huh?
It's a at that stage they had to reduce numbers, so they had to do a culling, which is obviously the humanely killing. Of a fair amount of the elephants in a particular herd.
They're destructive animals.
Yes,
one of the big
if
things.
there's too many, they can be very destructive. And so they took 3 survivors of this and put them in Neisner Forest. And what Ryan's group was saying was that this meant that they were already very, very stressed elephants.
And traumatized.
Traumatized, that's the better word. Traumatized. They were in a new area where they weren't used to the lay of the land.
Yeah, it's very, very different to the...
Totally different vegetation.
Kruger Park.
Totally stressed out. Basically what happened was it failed. And the Neisner elephant was left to wander on her own again. So this time their plan is to get 3 elephants, which they are being given for free by the Neisner Elephant Park, the Plet side of Neisner Elephant Park. Two sides, but owned by the same people. There's 3 young elephants, I think between the age of 11 and 15, if I remember.
Add in some rebellious teenagers.
So they are used to being they're used to human contact. They're not trained as such, but they are used to human contact. So the idea is to set up what they call a boma, which is a large enclosure in Farley near Karatra. Near the Bosdorp.
That's not far at all.
No, it's not at all. And it is the Neisner elephant's stomping ground at the moment. So she's been in and out that area. They'll set them up there, and once they've got used to the boma and what have you, the plan is to let them out during the day. Now, because these elephants are used to this way of living, they will go out and wander during the day and then return to the boma at night.
Yes.
That's the plan.
They are teenagers, you never know what they're going to do.
They might get up to no good. Well, hopefully they won't find them smoking or playing pool in dodgy places.
Karatra, we know what happens up at Karatra.
What happens in Karatra stays in Karatra. But they are that what they think will happen, what they are convinced will happen, is that the Neisner elephant will sense their presence and possibly start getting closer to the boma, maybe hanging out a bit outside, and sort of communicate with the elephants inside.
Starting to make some friends.
Get to know their smell and what have you. Because they are socially active animals.
Social animals,
So then also with these other 3 elephants being younger, all females, they will also look to the Neisner elephant for leadership, for mentorship, to learn from her, because that's what elephants do.
So it sounds like it has been pretty well thought through.
It has been.
It seemed like one of the big obstacles previously, well, maybe not previously, but one of the obstacles is really getting sand parks on board, and it felt like they were saying no ways, at the start. Do you think that's softened now? I know there was a bit of an insert for
there was
them
a bit of an insert from them. It wasn't a reaction to the meeting. They had been invited to the meeting, and they sent out like a press statement a week before the meeting.
Oh, that's interesting.
But the press statement was actually, if I read it right, it was refreshing. It was a sort of a, whereas previously they had said no, it's not going to happen. They've clearly done a lot more research, and a lot of their research is in the surrounding communities. Now you must remember that what we spoke about earlier, the elephants can be destructive. They
Yeah.
can be,
Yeah,
especially in farmlands and what have you. In fact, the
Yeah.
Meisner elephant has the passion for turning over farm vehicles.
Oh my goodness.
When she is seen, she's often
it's
had
still
her
around.
tusks in a forestry vehicle or a farm vehicle,
Whoa.
and she's turned them over. Not with people on them. She
Yes,
just
yeah,
goes
yeah.
at night.
Very
turns them
considerate,
over.
yeah.
Yeah, it's sharpening her tusks.
The teenagers are gonna love it.
That's
Forget cow tipping, the tractor tipping.
That's it, tractor tipping. So what's oh, I've lost my train of thought with tractor tipping.
I'm sorry, you just got a picture. Just sounds
So-
like too much fun.
So what sandparks have said in the past is a lot of the community around there, the
Yeah.
farmers themselves, have kind of said, we're not sure about this.
Yeah.
We don't need any destruction, that sort of thing. But that was in previous surveys. They're now, if I read their article correctly, they're now saying there's more and more, the word we like to use, of a groundswell in the
Hey.
surrounding communities that, hey, yes,
This could work.
Let's maybe try it again.
Okay.
But what came across very clearly in their statement was that a lot of research is being done.
Yeah.
They are wanting to do this from a very scientific background.
And not just like an emotional response.
Not an
which,
emotional
we
thing.
all feel, and we would,
We
love.
do.
I mean, it's such a great story, and
It's such a wonder, and they've now named her Fila.
she has
I
a
see-
name.
I see on social media there's a few people that said you can't just name her, and a lot of
Did you
people
even
saying, "Yeah, she doesn't care," but maybe she does. I don't know. There is that danger, and we all love animals.
Oh,
we
yeah.
all really have a thing about the Neisner elephant, and we're devastated to know that she is lonely wandering out there.
Oh, you've made it extra sad. Just by saying she's
that's
lonely.
it. But sandparks, quite rightly, want
Yeah.
to go the scientific route.
Yeah.
They don't. A big part of elephants' life, I suppose, is stress. They do get stressed.
Yeah.
And they don't want to overly stress her. And that's the toss-up point. The herd instinct people are saying she's already stressed.
Whoa.
Because
okay.
she's on her own.
Yeah,
she
'cause
shouldn't
she's
be
not
on
in a
her
herd,
own.
yeah.
What they mentioned was that elephants take turns watching the herd at night.
Whoa.
Which I didn't know.
Yeah,
So some of them sleep
fascinating.
and the other ones stand watch.
Yeah.
And then make sure none of those teenagers escape.
Exactly,
And then
yeah.
they swap and they take turns. So she hasn't had that. So has she had a good night's sleep? We don't know.
Yeah.
She may be always sleeping with 1 foot on the ground. Well, 4 foot on the ground. I think they do sleep
I
standing
think
up.
so, yeah.
So we don't know enough about
Yeah,
it.
we
But
just don't know.
sandparks are basically saying, they're not saying no, but they are saying the research must be done
Yeah.
properly
That's it.
and convincingly. I think the project, as far as the herd instinct people, is more or less ready to go.
Yeah.
And the nice thing is that they talked about was that no funding was being asked of sandparks or anyone,
Yeah.
because these elephants that they're going to use have been given without charge.
Yeah.
They
Are people going to ride them over?
well, I don't know. It's,
I mean,
it's
ride
not far.
on them, not over them, but grab the elephant
It's
saddles.
not far. But yeah, and they say that Neisner Elephant Park, or the Plet version of it, will foot the costs
Oh, wow,
of
yeah.
all this. It will be watched over by handlers. I didn't mention, part of what they want to do
Yeah.
is have elephant walks. Now that's not
I was
walking
wondering
with
about
elephants.
Oh, yeah.
Walking on paths to see elephants.
Oh.
Because there's human interaction with these
won't be
elephants,
as dangerous.
They won't they won't run off. Apparently, it's been
okay.
done very successful in Rwanda with the
wow.
gorillas. So people go
hey.
on walks and then
Yeah.
they see, there's a troop of gorillas. I
Wow.
think it's a troop.
Is it a troop?
Yeah, a pack. No, a gang.
A municipality of.
Yes. Yeah. So that's let's hope it happens. Let's hope it happens properly.
Yeah. And well,
They did say if it doesn't work, it's very easily reversed.
Oh, good. Okay, no, that's
but
really
yeah,
good.
let's see
So I
what
love that. I
happens
love that idea. I love that sentiment of, hey, like, love the story, love the idea. Let's not just respond emotively. Let's take into account all the facts and all of that.
Yeah.
And I think that's a great way that we can approach our week and the rest of it as well.
Absolutely.
Let's have our conversations around emotions, but grounded in truth.
Absolutely.
Not
Good
just
to
your
hear.
truth or my truth, the truth.
The truth. That's what I like to hear as a newspaper man.
Exactly. And I suppose you can find that in The Edge.
Absolutely.
Awesome, Bomber. Thanks so much for your time. This was
Thank
really,
you.
really cool. Looking forward to the next one. Cheers, everyone.
Absolutely. Cheers now.